Welcome back to Nation of Glory. Today we bring you the story of a man who has lived many lives in one. A wrestler who defined eras, a rock star who electrified arenas, and an entertainer who has crossed every boundary with courage and creativity. This is the story of Christopher Keith Irvine, known to the world as Chris Jericho. His journey is not just about championships and records. It's about resilience, reinvention, and the unbreakable bond between a performer and the millions of people who believe in him. When you hear the name Chris Jericho, you don't just think of a wrestler. You think of a man who constantly evolved, who refused to be defined by one title or one role. From the very beginning, Jericho was different. He wasn't the biggest guy in the ring. He wasn't the strongest. But he had something that could never be taught: charisma, confidence, and the ability to connect with people. He made you believe. And in the world of wrestling, belief is everything. Born in Manhasset, New York, but raised in Winnipeg, Canada, Jericho grew up far away from the glamour of the big leagues. He dreamed of stepping into the ring, dreamed of hearing the roar of the crowd, dreamed of proving that he could be a star, even if the odds seemed stacked against him. Those early days were not easy. He trained, he struggled, he traveled across the globe, wrestling in small halls, in foreign countries, in places where the lights were dim, but the passion burned bright. He wrestled in Mexico, in Japan, in Canada, learning not just moves but styles, cultures, and the art of storytelling inside the ring. And that's the secret: Jericho never saw wrestling as just fighting. He saw it as performance. He saw it as theater, as music, as a stage where every move was part of a story that connected him with people watching. That understanding set him apart. That understanding made him special. By the time he arrived in the major leagues, first in WCW and then later in WWE, Jericho had already built himself into an international star. But it was in WWE where his name truly exploded into legend. The countdown to the new millennium. The lights. The music. The moment when Chris Jericho walked out to confront The Rock, it was one of the most iconic debuts in wrestling history. In that moment, the world knew a new star had arrived. Jericho was funny, he was sharp, he was ruthless, and he was brilliant in the ring. Fans loved him, hated him, cheered for him, booed him, but they always reacted. And that, more than anything, is the mark of greatness. Jericho's career has been defined by reinvention. When one character or one version of himself began to fade, he found another. He became Y2J, the Ayatollah of rock and roll, the serious suit-wearing world champion, the list-making fan favorite, the arrogant veteran, the painmaker, the demo god, Le Champion. Every time the world thought they had seen all of Chris Jericho, he showed them something new. That ability to adapt, to transform, to never stay in one place too long. That is why he has remained at the top of professional wrestling for over 3 decades. But Jericho's story doesn't stop with wrestling. Music runs through his veins. With his band Fozzy, he stepped onto stages not as a wrestler playing at being a musician, but as a true rock star. What started as a passion project grew into worldwide tours, charting songs, and arenas filled with fans, screaming his lyrics. In the same way, he commanded a wrestling crowd, he commanded a rock audience. He proved he could shine in both worlds, not because he was chasing fame, but because he loved to perform. He loved to give people something to feel. Jericho has also stepped into acting, into writing, into broadcasting. Each time he tries something new, he brings the same fire, the same dedication, the same belief that has carried him since those days wrestling in tiny halls across the globe. And each time, he succeeds because he understands that everything he does is about connection. Whether it's in a ring, on a stage, or through a screen, Chris Jericho knows how to make people feel something real. In all elite wrestling today, Jericho stands as both a legend and a leader. For younger wrestlers, he is a mentor, a guide, a living blueprint of what it takes to survive and thrive in this business. For fans, he is still the man who entertains, who shocks, who surprises, who never lets the story grow stale. Even after decades, even after championships, even after Hall of Fame level success, Jericho still finds ways to reinvent himself and give fans something new. And isn't that the heart of this story? The power of reinvention. The courage to evolve. The refusal to be boxed in by one label. Chris Jericho is proof that you can be many things: wrestler, rock star, actor, creator, and succeed in all of them, if you have the heart to keep pushing, keep fighting, keep believing. When you watch Jericho, you don't just see a wrestler. You see the young boy from Winnipeg who dared to dream bigger than his world allowed. You see the man who traveled the globe, slept in cheap hotels, and risked everything for a chance to step into the spotlight. You see the entertainer who makes millions of people laugh, cry, cheer, and sing. You see the legend who never stops writing new chapters. That is why Chris Jericho's story resonates far beyond the ring. It's not just about wrestling, it's about life. It's about never giving up, about embracing change, about refusing to let anyone else decide your limits. His story is one of triumph, not because he never fell, but because every time he fell, he rose again stronger, smarter, sharper, and more determined. And that is why Chris Jericho is more than a wrestler, more than a musician, more than an actor. He is an icon of reinvention, a symbol of creativity, a legend of entertainment. His journey teaches us that the only limits we have are the ones we accept. And Jericho has never accepted limits. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the story of Chris Jericho. If you felt the power of this story, if you believe in celebrating the legends who shape not just sports and entertainment, but the emotions of millions, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share it with others. Until next time, this is Nation of Glory, bringing you the stories that matter, the stories that move you, and the stories you will never forget.